All right, good evening. This is the March 12th meeting of the Police Accountability Board. It is now 6:34. We'll call this meeting to order. Just for the record, I am filling in today as our chair will be unable to join us, so I'll be facilitating the meeting today. We'll start off with the quick roll call here, and as part of the roll call, we'll have a special introduction. So, Mr. Duvall will not be attending today. I am here. Mr. James said he's going to be here in a few minutes. Ms. Bryant.
Here.
Ms. Springs. Ms. Coleman, Dr. Coleman.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Melton.
Present.
Mr. O'Neill.
Present.
All right, Ms. Ridley may attend virtually. Oh, Mr. James is here. Mr. James. All right. Go. All right, and so as part of our initial roll call, we have a new member. As you know, Mr. Bergamini left us, and so we were waiting for someone to be appointed to be sworn in. I believe you were sworn in yesterday. So she's right. So I want everyone, and I'll give you a moment to introduce yourself to everyone. Ms. Stephanie Maxwell, please.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Red Maxwell, and so I'm excited to be here. Just I guess a synopsis, a little bit about myself. I am a retired 34-year county employee. Oh, sorry. On. Is it on?
You're on the back, underneath, right here. You underneath, you right here. See the little button.
Oh, so it's not on the top.
It's
All right.
on.
It's not. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Loud and clear.
Good. Stephanie Red Maxwell, appointed yesterday to the board. I am a retired 34-year county employee. Started out as in a clerkship, came over to the county attorney's office, migrated to house counsel for HR, went to deputy director, then director, then went to the courts, and came back as director of HR, then went to the court administrator. And so I've done my whole tenure of a career with 2 different branches of government, as well as practicing. I actually stepped back because my mother had cancer. And so I stepped back from my pretty demanding career so I could be there for her. And she is still here with us, so I can talk about that. And so with that said, I still had a lot to give back. And so I am currently I'm an adjunct at the University of Maryland campus. And I also sit on the Dematha Catholic High School board, and among other stuff, but I won't get into that. But I'm very interested in this committee. It means a lot to me, being from New York and having some situations that have occurred in New York. That was actually one of the inspirations for me attending law school. But I work with law enforcement a great deal with the HR director. I understand their mission and their goals and how important it is to be involved with the community. So I'm just excited to be able to add value and give back and contribute. And so I guess that's it.
Great. Well, welcome. Yeah, you'll get to know us all very well as time goes on here. I did want to note Ms. Springs has joined us, and I see Ms. Ridley is joining virtually. So I think that's actually, besides the chair, that's all of us that are here today. So we'll have to give them a demerit for that. All right. So before we get to some business stuff, I guess we usually open it up if anyone's visiting us. I don't see anyone here in person. I don't see anyone online. So, but there were people, we'd be happy to have them introduce themselves. All right, let's get to the minutes. We should have 2 sets of minutes for you guys. Were sent out ahead of time. We have January 22nd, February 26th. So we'll do them one at a time. So once anyone's ready, I'll be happy to entertain a motion to accept the January 22nd minutes.
That.
I believe that Ms. Ridley also volunteered to be on the ombudsman. Is that correct? Ms. Ridley?
Yes, I can.
You also want to be on the others committee?
Yeah, I have her. So yeah, we'll make that change.
Oh, did I do this? Oh, I got it.
I think you had, my notes show that you had volunteered for the case complaint review as well.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a motion to accept those changes?
Yes.
All right, do I have a second? Heard Dr. Coleman first, so she has a second. Any other discussion on the minutes? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of adopting the January 22nd minutes, say aye or raise your hand. As amended, my apologies. Say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right. So now we'll do, I figured that's why I threw it out there just in case. It's, I'll keep trying, but it's gonna die. It died already. So Ms. Maxwell will abstain from that vote. All right, February 26th. Whenever someone's ready, we can take that one as well. And that was our meeting with the chiefs of police.
Move to adopt the February 26th meeting minutes.
Thank you, Mr. James. Do I have a second? Second. Mr. Melton seconds. Any discussion on the minutes, any changes, anything? All right, hearing none, let's go to the vote then. All in favor of adopting the February 26th, 2025 meetings, please say aye or raise your hands. Aye.
Aye.
Unopposed? Anyone abstaining? Maxwell abstains. All right, great. All right, so our minutes have been adopted. Thank you very much. All right, the first thing we had was just an overview of our Chiefs meeting, first quarter Chiefs meeting. We're joined, as you can see in the minutes, by a lot of chiefs. This table was full. Meeting went well, but I wanted to see if anyone had anything they wanted to speak about the meeting, or anything they wanted to provide to the group, or any members that anyone may have missed. Mr. Melton?
Is it all right if I just talk louder? No. Okay, it's part of this for the tracking. Yeah, I know.
You're close enough.
All right, so I thought it was good, but I did notice that some of the questions were repetitive for a lot of our guests. And so I wondered if there was some thought that we might want to give to like updating questions. So that we're not kind of going over the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We should probably, for the next quarter, take a look at some of the data we have for the year already, so that we can customize. I think there's a couple questions that are probably good generally, but I think you're right. There were some that they answered and answered to previous ones, and we were just kind of asking again. So yeah, that's good. I'll definitely make sure that we add that to the agenda for the meeting before our next Chiefs meeting. So, okay. Discuss that.
So we'll be providing the data at the meeting prior to.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have, obviously, we have access to it. All the, but when cases get added and stuff. Anyone else? Anything?
I thought they started to doing their outreach,
Yeah.
the, especially the coffee with cops idea. Did anyone attend that? We have coffee with cops in St. Paul. Which one was that?
I think it was, I want to say,
Captain Pike.
yeah, it was Capitol Heights. Well, he was going around. I think he was going to like into the neighborhood. with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's where the next one. Is. So I like the fact that they are getting out and that they know kids, especially in their. I think that's great.
There definitely is a difference between the local municipal police and the county police and some of those things, because there's so much more ingrained in.
I would take that as a kind of a recommendation. I heard a couple of chiefs ask about that, right? With municipalities, I think you get a different perspective. It's something for us to consider, how that varies. I think comparison. So.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, we should be making an effort when we're doing our ride-alongs to try to get with those municipalities to get a sense for how different it is. Like if you've gone, like I've done my ride-alongs with the county, it'll be interesting to see how different it is with municipalities. So that's a good idea.
Because sometimes when you use the county, I think I saw Popeyes 14 times.
Keep it out, because sometimes they just go, they move if they don't get called.
This strategy might go more into the community.
All right. Anyone else? Anything they want to add to that? But I think that was good. And then we've already got a list, I guess, for the second round that we'll get later on as we get closer to that meeting, so we can prepare for that. All right. Okay, good. Moving on to the next thing then, just a report out from the subcommittees if you have something. So I guess we'll start off with we'll do community outreach first.
After the meeting, we were invited to attend the policeman's award ceremony. Fortunately, it was like the next day.
Yeah.
I didn't have. But I thought that was great. There is a property connection on the second Friday of each month, third Friday of each month, for District 2. And this month, it won't be us making a presentation. It will have some of the legislators on the call.
Is it in person or is it on?
No, this is virtual.
Okay.
So I will, keep everybody, when those take place, that's gonna be part of our plan.
Second, what district, what area?
It's, like Bernard area. And we haven't developed a calendar for the year, but I'd like to get together with Mr. O'Neill and really to develop a calendar, and then, our staff usually keep us informed about things that are going on. So if anybody has any, knowledge, awareness of events that we can join. Otherwise, in the summer, I'd like to see us do our own event. And I'd like your ideas about how we should structure that. Seems like having a sort of a fun day with kids and then having presentations would be.
Could you pull forward a little bit? You're taking 2 spots for me. I'd appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I can't. Hear you.
I don't think that's her.
So-
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So, like, get a fun house, do our presentation, but also have police officers there, have other folks there to talk to the community. Sort of like what they do for the, night out.
For the next one, I know.
Yeah, I don't know what our budget calls for, but I think you're right.
I just want to admit it. I think I was thinking about the problems that come in here. There's just to update our presentation. You know, because we have new figures from,
Yeah, I have that.
okay, and, so we could probably also add some municipalities can.
And then-
Like the council meeting or something, people, municipality to give a presentation and, that's what
Sure. So I would suggest you connect with Miss Allen, because I know she's got a huge calendar of things that are going on around the county. So you want to make sure that, I guess, we're consolidating the things that you have and the things that she has. And yeah, if you've got an idea for an event, that's great. I would say you guys should probably bring a plan, right? Bring a plan for us.
So I know people go away for the summer, but I think in August. Is that when the
National
Night
Night Out is
Oh,
like
yeah.
the second, I think it's the first or second Tuesday,
yeah,
the first, yeah.
yeah, so that probably would be, although we participate in that anyway,
Yeah,
And we had a table
at several places.
at several places,
So that's a good idea to continue to do that. We'll just stand out and do all of it.
Right.
Night.
yeah.
So I'll do that.
If I could just make a recommendation, sorry, we're done.
No, I was just going to say, I'd like your recommendations on things that you think we should plan.
Yeah, I would love for us to sort of approach community outreach in terms of thinking through, like, what is our purpose? And if our presentation is to spread more information and awareness about our process, I think we should think about it as an opportunity to tap into community populations who are more vulnerable. If we do see data, we see that there's, a particular type of complaint coming in that's more frivolous. That could mean that people just there's a disconnect. Maybe some of the municipalities can help us with that, saying, hey, look, we get a lot of complaints about this. People really don't understand. This is not something that they are, that's not being a violation or whatever. But I think we should be intentional about sort of where we go, who we're targeting. Because again, sharing the information about our purpose and our process, not to sort of dismiss the kids, but I think that's more of a community event where the kids aren't necessarily a vulnerable population.
The reason I said that is because it's getting people there. That's the issue, is getting people. A lot of times we don't get that participation. We just, they're gonna tell you about our purpose. A lot of times. So what I was thinking about was something that would bring the families there and then share information. But I agree.
Because you're talking about also like we can meet with municipalities. What groups, that we need a business service. We do our presentation to do a business service in a session with them, see what the concerns. But I think that I looked at some of Montgomery County. That's what they did is have business service. Different groups within the community. And see what they were thinking. Going out presentations so they can understand. They can come to us, or to our website and stuff like that.
Yeah, if I could, I just want to say I agree. I think the idea is to get the information to people, maximize brain. The folks who we use ignore process and can go through it. I think part of that is thinking through, should we be on some of our college campuses? We've got two really big schools in our county. Should we be talking to students? What are organizations or groups that already meet? Is there ways to do it? We kind of talked about this a little bit already, but our county council members have standing town halls, right? Like they do those things. When Ivy has town halls, especially right now, all the time. Like, is there a way to take time in those places to just kind of piggyback on something that other folks already have? And just, exactly, that we can just get our information. So I agree. And when we get to the new business piece, I have to be added to subs because I wasn't here last time. So I plan on being on the outreach one too. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right approach, and that's why it's important that, your group just connects with Miss Allen, because I think she's got the pulse on a lot of events, and so instead of wasting a lot of energy trying to create events, if we can piggyback off of things that are going on, I think that'd be a good idea. Okay, so, we'll go around, do a report out from the subcommittees, and then we'll talk about adding people, because Ms. Maxwell will probably also want to add into some.
So that little hubbub was about an event I forgot about, and it's a community a conversation with the community on the 20th. It's with the Community Relations Commission, and we're going to talk about. They've asked us to participate, but there are other things that
Participate in what way?
be there and serve and.
Oh, okay.
Share. Yeah, Crystal talked about it.
So it's the Human Rights Commission.
Oh.
And they asked me to tell them a little bit about the PhD and ideas. And they asked for board members to actually come on and talk. They have a partnership with the public library system. And they have a community conversation via Zoom every month. And so this month is going to be PAP focus. This month will be PAP focus. And so we're going to actually be talking about what the KU does. And community members will be able to call in. It's via Zoom, so it's going to be virtual. And there will be questions. And so it's going to be about what you all do. And there's going to be talk about the data that you all collect and the recommendations that you have put up to the council and all that. So it's really going to be KV focused. It's all about the KV. It's going to be an hour long, and it's going to be at 4 o'clock on March the 20th. So that's the one thing that the outreach committee has done, that's KV focused. The other thing that was done was I also met with the county's African Diaspora Advisory Committee. And they also wanted to know about what you all do. And they invited the board to their event, which is their International Women's Day celebration. And they invited you all to come and talk. I think they are giving an award to Tara Jackson. Unfortunately, this invitation was supposed to have been given to you all at your last meeting, but it was a Chiefs meeting, so you all didn't sit and get that information. And it's this Saturday. So I don't know whether it's, too late, for this to happen, because it's an evening event, it's a gala event, and they are giving us a table free of charge, as well as for you all to sort of show up and in sort of full regalia. It's an evening gala event.
What time in here?
It is, I can't remember the hotel, but I'll send out the flyer, and it's, I think it's from 7 to 10, this Saturday, March 15th.
Do you know how many people at a table, so we can kind of?
I think at a table, there are 8 at a table.
And it's usually well attended. I can send out a link of sort of what they've done in the past, like the 2004 celebration, which was sort of well attended by even some of the council members and some of our elected officials as well.
And we won't have an opportunity to speak there with this meeting.
They told me when I met with them initially that there will be an opportunity to speak. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten back to them because I hadn't talked to you all. So I didn't know if you all were willing or able to show up, so I hadn't circled back. And it's on Saturday, so now I don't know if their, program is finalized. So that opportunity was there when I spoke to them at the beginning of February. I don't know if it's still there, but I could circle back to them if there is interest. So I'll sort of leave it in your hands and you let me know.
Okay, I think
Okay, then the only other
Just
thing.
before you move on to that, so just,
Sorry.
if we're gonna make the commitment to it though, I don't want one person at the table by themselves, right? So if you could send out that information, I think we should by email be able to confirm who can go. And if we have spots, I don't know if staff is available to go and represent on our behalf as well. We can maybe have staff there as well, just that if they're gonna be nice enough to give us a free table, we should fill the table.
Well, I think when they said, I don't think they're giving us a free table, like
Okay.
eight people at a table. When they said table, they're like vendor tables.
Oh,
They were
okay.
like some vendor
Oh, okay, never mind.
All right.
All right.
Well, they would give us a vendor table, but then however members are going, they would give us those tickets to sit, but they're not giving us
Okay,
the PAB,
Okay, okay,
free
yeah.
8 tickets.
that's kind of what it sounds like.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't mean to misread.
okay, that makes sense,
I
yeah.
was there one more thing.
Yes, one more thing. So, so what I was trying to do is under our grant, I said that I would make sure that we reached out to, representation to all areas of, to be inclusive in the county. So I also reached out to the Latino liaison in the county executive's office. And there's a meeting scheduled, on the 21st at noon. And I would like to have someone from the board there as well to talk about what we can do to reach out to the Latino members of the community. I think that's really important. And I don't think that that's something that I would be prepared to speak about. So I think that's,
Where and
it's a Zoom meeting. It's via Zoom, so I can send that link, and it's noon on the 21st. Yeah. And the idea is to say, at your next event, your PAB would like to speak, would like to have prominence, and we have done really good things, like we have, we now have on our website links to your annual report is now in Spanish. Our survey, community survey is all in Spanish. So we've taken these steps, but people aren't actually availing themselves of it. So we want to get the word out there. So we need your help to do that, and we want the liaison to help us. But I need it to be just somebody else at that meeting. So that's all I have.
Now, the first group you said, is that the county human rights commission?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. This is all count.
All right, so how are we gonna handle this then? Are you gonna send that to everyone? You're gonna send that to Ms. Bryant and Jill disperse? How do we wanna?
well, she should send it to everyone.
Okay,
And then you go, RSVP to me and I'll.
well, for all of these, like who's gonna do the Human Rights Commission on
Right.
March 20th? Who's gonna do the liaison March 21st? We just have to make sure that we're
Exactly.
coordinating so that someone else is there, right? A board member.
So that's what I'm asking, though.
Brian has already.
March 20th.
Oh, okay, great.
So yeah, RSVP to me and I'll coordinate it. Or,
I'll say for the meeting on the 21st, I'll plan to be in attendance. I gotta double check, but I'll plan to attend that, so.
That's
Yeah.
the virtual. Which one is it?
They're both virtual. One is with the Latino Commission and then one is with the Human Rights Commission.
I should be able to that Friday too, and others, whoever. needs to be
Well,
there.
the 21st. 21st.
In African That's a gala at night.
Yes.
What day is that?
It's on the 15th, so it's this Saturday.
Oh, that's this Saturday. Okay.
So we do have the potential then to have like a vendor table, some information.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, so you'll,
yeah, I'll coordinate that.
cool. All right, anything else for community outreach? All right, cases and complaints review, I don't think it's. Mr.
Yeah.
Melton.
So we actually were able to sort of, get ourselves coordinated, get our bearings. One of the things we wanted to do was initially sort of touch base with the ACC, who kind of coordinates collecting all of the data around the cases. Ebony was kind enough to set up a meeting, with one of our ACC members. And, in talking with them, we were able to learn there are a lot more factors and challenges with case transfer to us than we were aware of. So as you can imagine, there are a number of systems that law enforcement use to collect claim data. And the ACC has access, so they will log in, they pay to have membership in these systems, and they go in and get what they need. And then they sort of collect information from the actual agencies and pull it all together and create case files. There is a lot of coordination in that process. So for us to just get access is not just the snap of a finger, it's not that easy. So we talked about those challenges and factors, but like, what would it look like? And the other issue was that their admin staff is the one who would coordinate that anyway. So that position is vacant. And they are swamped with cases. They're really doing a lot that they normally wouldn't do because this admin person really helps them. And so what they asked is that if we could just be patient, once that position is filled, we can coordinate a system where what we're looking for is the original complaint, the ACC's review, the agency's review, and then the ultimate decision. We had that information to us. I think that's probably enough for us to do a review. And we had something similar before, set up in teams. We had a select number of items from the complaint, and then we would just review. So we probably set up a similar system, have the admin person make that transfer, and then we can do our review. As a group, we are gonna work on looking at the original case review form that
All
you
the
helped
forms, all
develop.
paperwork, yeah.
And to see if it's applicable, if we need to tweak it a little bit. But we are gonna come up with sort of a cadence for how we intend to do case reviews. We'll probably have some sort of system to be able to come up with sample sizes, probably won't do all of this. Because it looks like based on their estimation, we get about 40 a month. So that's probably a little much for us to reasonably come back with, sort of trends of conclusion. But I think if we can come up with a way to come up with a sample size, we'll be able to bring you all some feedback and conclusions from stuff that we're seeing. One of the questions I think we'll have to answer is how are we gonna create a sample size that's sort of representative of what's out there? But I think we can also look at, maybe coming up with some sheets and maybe, well, that's not that's the data. So we'll maybe allow data analytics to come up with some aggregate stuff, and maybe draw conclusions from that. But in terms of case review, I think we're going to take a recommendation from the ACC, which was to dig into the 2024 annual report that they put together. And then as a group, we're gonna come back and put our hands together. I apologize, Mr. Ryan, if you had elected to be added to this group, I didn't hear that. So we did have some communication. I'll add you.
In the admin group, the admin person vacancy, is that with ACC?
Yeah, there's that person.
In those 40 they do, they're not all counted. They-
No,
this
I think it's
make
so,
make
yeah.
sure.
And so it's looking like they believe maybe a month or two to have that person sort of settled, and they'll start this system that would come. So the communication was there, and the communication was good. So what we hope to do is bring this larger body, any proposals that we have for what our case review looks like, and you all can tell us that don't make sense, or, you know, we would have recommend you make these suggested changes. And then we'll go about it however the body decides. And then also, we intend on these regular updates to bring you any of the feedback or conclusions or trends that we're seeing. So that's, again, what we hope to do is look at that 2024 annual report. By our next meeting, we'll have something to bring back to you.
I do have. You actually answered asked two of the questions I had in terms of sourcing. So it's the ACC. The question I have when I was reviewing some of the documents is, are we, from the different municipalities as well as the other law enforcement agencies, is there a central repository that collects? You're saying no?
We actually propose that should be something that exists. And people seem to have some traction with it, but it doesn't. So it's kind of like, I think Ebony had been looking into like what might be available or what was out there. As far as I know, there isn't anything right
I know, and if I could add to that too, part of it too is like, to your earlier point, there are so many systems that each municipality folks use differently that like trying to get everything into one system, like, it's not like it would be one language that goes into all the other ones, like, there's just so much.
So they're standalone systems.
Yeah.
And so they're doing manual collection.
Yep.
When they actually need an information system that's integrated into one.
Yeah, another part of that we've kind of talked about too.
For this
before,
purpose.
yeah, like we don't actually see every complaint that gets filed. We only see the ones that get sent to us or filed with us. So there's some gaps that because of systems, because they're so different everywhere, it just makes some of that collection difficult.
and they have like nomenclature and case numbers and all of that will have to be reconciled into a system.
Yes, it would.
So.
Yeah, Mr. Bennett had an answer here for us as well.
Somebody need to talk to the IG about it.
I don't know. Everybody.
Protocol. Thank you for the recognition of Inspector General Ben speaking. That's part of, I guess, the larger ask for the office, which encompasses everybody to have a system developed where there is a centralized repository. It would be helpful to have recommendations from this body, which would also give me some teeth because I'm making those same asks on one side, but having those asks come from another side would be helpful. And yes, you gotta remember there are 29 law enforcement agencies that you all oversee in terms of police departments. The largest, of course, being PGPD. Each agency has their own processes, their own case numbers, et cetera. But the good thing about it is, you know, a use of force is a use of force, regardless of whether it's coming from Greenbelt, PGPD, or former manners, it's still a use of force. Having that type of database that we can pull from, you know, January through March 2024, all uses of force, that would be helpful. Right now, we're going the old school way. Everything is trying to be entered into some type of spreadsheet, and we're trying to run it that way, which is extremely difficult. And part of the legislation also requires us to have that as well. So, you know, my ask for you, since you guys do make recommendations to the county council and everything, that would be one of your recommendations going forward. I think that would assist us in our efforts and hopefully get you the information that you guys need to make the proper decisions that you need to make.
Is it an actual national database, some other states? I'm asking, just asking.
No, well,
If we're asking.
No, there's no national database, and right now I would not put any stock in any type of
Well, not,
national database.
is it any of the other states that use?
Oh, yeah, there are,
That's
yeah.
what I meant. I
There are a multitude of management systems that, I mean, I get calls every week about people trying to it still comes down to numbers, as we know. And right now, priority wise, that's, you kind of gotta follow the needs of the county. So, there are things I think that we can do to assist and maybe collectively. I mean, there's some great minds on this panel. You all have great ideas too. So if you have ideas that you could float to me that you think would work, I would appreciate it. And, until we get that hard line system in place, hook the crook, we gotta do what we gotta do to get the information that we need. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James?
Appreciate it, Mr. Melton. One of the things I would suggest to consider is separating complaints from cases. We can use some real-time data when it comes to complaints, and that's not gonna rely on the ACC as much. That's information that we would have on the PAB side. It may not be as robust, totally get that, but at least it will give us some relevancy when we're having conversations, particularly our chiefs. So complaints and cases can be separated. And then, separately, unrelated to that, one of the things I am hearing, we've made recommendations on data systems. They've been in our reports, but we haven't followed up on those recommendations. So I think that's something as a board we might want to consider, is kind of finding out where those recommendations are and what follow-up we need to do, and if we need to create a subcommittee to take that task on year round.
Question, in the submission of the request, did we put any kind of estimated cost for types of systems, or just the concept?
Just concept. Again, it was just concept proposal on it to do it. There's a requirement for agencies to have something on their websites that's available for the public so that they can query cases or complaints and the status of it. That's independent of each organization, each agency. Most important to that, there is no timeline on it. So it's in the legislation, but without a date. Get to it when you get to it, whenever you can afford it. It would be a great opportunity for us to have a collection of that repository on our website. So no matter where your complaint came from, whether it was a county or municipality or state agency, you should be able to come to the county's website on our PAB page, and you should be able to query that. That would be an idea.
On the piece of recommendations, and maybe this is a point of clarification that we can get, but when we make our recommendations, like, do we actually send them to like lawmakers directly? Like, I'm assuming there's obviously like state like committees of jurisdiction and whatnot, like, do the chairs and rankers there actually get recommendations, or do we just post to the site and then it's in the?
Not, if I remember correctly, our last set of recommendations, because we make ours to the county council, it was sent to the county council as a letter with recommendations.
But maybe that's something to think about too, like, obviously the state does something meddling here, maybe there's some ways, I don't know if that's not allowed, there may be some jurisdictional things there, but just targeting who actually sees our recommendations, maybe it's not good to think.
Does it,
Go ahead.
does it go to both the executive side and the county council as part of the budget submission?
The report that, I don't think we sent recommendations.
I would have to double check. I can't remember, but I know that we did do a formal letter that went out. I'm sure the staff would probably find that for us. Or Mr. Bennett, I mean. Listen, you guys, we gotta.
You can see this tape.
I think I got at least one more for you at some point today.
So you are an independent board, independent body. You have the authority to send a recommendation where you need to go, whether it be county council, the county executive, a law enforcement agency, or the state delegate, or county delegation that goes to the state. Of course, if you go into the state, I would recommend that you, have conversations with the county, to make sure that, everybody's kind of on the same page. But yes, you have the authority to send whatever the recommendation is, send it to that entity. Just make sure that, of course, it goes through your attorney and it, meets certain standards and, you know, practices and rules, and then you go from there. Yes, sir.
What, so we go, don't we have to put a price tag when we go to budget meetings?
You don't have a budget that you guys oversee. Again, these are recommendations. And with the recommendation, they can either be accepted or not. You know, it is, so me as a IG and a director, if you send me a recommendation for whatever, and it is my job to now try and see how that fits within whatever budget that I'm working with. So that means working with the vendor for a case management system. How much does that cost? Will we be within the confines of what's allotted to us, et cetera? So you make the recommendations, but the legwork is primarily done by staff.
You put the numbers, but it's accepted.
Prayerfully so, yes.
If it's accepted.
If it's accepted. And it's a recommendation, not a mandate.
So to follow up on that though, the recommendations that were made, our previous recommendations, they only went to the county council. Is that what are we aware?
That's what I would ask. We made recommendations, we approved them May 8th, 2024. I don't know the status of those going forward after that approval. And so you were saying the staff could provide the letter, so it would be great
And then to
if that could
follow
be
up
shared
to
with
see
us.
if they were recommended, if there was a response back from the county council.
Yeah, when they were transmitted and if there was a response.
Typically, if you're making a recommendation, you're facilitating a letter with that, you have a deadline for a response. From whatever the entity is, or, you know, at least as an IG, if I make a recommendation to PGPD, after I send it out there, I need this by 30 days or whatever. Hopefully you guys are doing that with yours as well.
So what I'm hearing, I believe it sounds like the letter, recommendation went to council, but not clear for what on the executive side, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I couldn't,
Right.
I couldn't say with certainty.
Yeah, I think that at this point, Carlos, stop at the phone, you're saying, maybe we'll get a follow-up. We don't know exactly where it went. We
Yeah,
don't know the follow-up on it.
We'll get the letter out to
She'll take
everyone.
a leave, come back.
Yeah, we'll get the letter, we'll send it out to everyone, so everyone remembers what we sent out. And then, obviously, we're gonna need legislative session with the council anyways. We have an interim executive right now, so we can revamp things as they go.
And another question I have is in terms of to help move forward and for me to understand from Ms. B is the concept of the system that we're talking about. We recommend it, but then you'll do some research, your office, in terms of the type of system, whether it's SAP, Oracle, Kronos, whatever, right? And put some numbers by it.
Yes.
Right,
So,
and then that's what would be presented, because conceptually on the other side, if they don't have any numbers behind it, it's harder for them to say, okay.
no,
Yeah.
it's a typical vendor process. So,
Okay.
and it's not even SAP or these, yeah. These are actual, case management. They provide, case management to LAPD or the Chicago Office of the Inspector General or whatever entity. So they have, a system that's tailored basically to your needs. So whatever the parameters are, like say you want to do your queries on use of force, or you want to do your queries on courtesy complaints, or how many complaints Bowie gets versus Greenbelt. You give them all of those parameters and they'll work it up based on what you're asking. Then they give you a number and it goes out to a bid. So it's not only one, there are multiple companies that can facilitate this. So then they come back to you with whatever their pricing is, goes out to bid or whatever, and you find the one that works for you. Hopefully we get through the budget process, the sign-off process by the council, and we're there. So that's kind of how the process would work, and that would give you a centralized repository for whatever the information is that you need. Of course, you guys would have access, you would have log on, you could pull the information that you need and do your workups the way that you want. But that's, again, I'm painting the rosy picture. And we all know that government is messy. The reality is, multiple voices, kind of saying the same thing. Hopefully we can get to an endpoint that everybody's happy with.
Can I also make a request that the recommendations that are contained within the 2024 annual report be turned into a letter and transmitted as well? We had the May ones in there, and there were additional ones that came out of the reports. Just trying to follow that methodology. If it's just in the report, we didn't ask for a response or anything. So I think we need to turn that to a letter and a transmittal asking for a response suspense date so that we can follow up with that appropriately too.
Okay, so is that a motion to have staff draft a letter based off the recommendations of our annual report to be presented for our approval at our next meeting?
Yes, I'd say.
That work.
Yeah, I'll say something. The recommendation from last year were never tested. Not to the council, nor to.
Well, that's helpful.
You're saying for the 2024 year, or
No.
are you saying
No,
May?
that's not- Then the ones we approved in May,
The May.
were never transmitted to the. So that's why we have no response.
Okay, so
They were.
that's fine.
So that, I think, but to your point, if they were incorporated into the 2024 report recommendations, then I think the motion still stands as it is and it accomplishes.
If they were,
If they
so
were.
we'll get can we have the letter just sent out to us again, whatever. else we have. So that way we can take a look at it. We still have a motion on the table to draft a letter. Based off of the recommendations of the annual report. So that was made by Mr. James, seconded by Mr. Jones. Any discussion on that?
Will we include the recommendations from the May? No,
That already exists.
but the letter has never been, so I'm saying since it wasn't transmitted, perhaps we should include those same recommendations.
Right, so the conversation, I think, is they might overlap, might be the same. So that's why the intention is we get the letter, plus we have them draft the letter based off of those.
Okay.
Then we can compare at our next meeting, make changes, and then adopt a letter, right?
And the suspense date.
Any other discussion on that motion? All right, to a vote, everyone in favor of, have it, the motion to have, I just want to state it so we know what we're asking. To have staff draft a recommendation letter based off of the recommendations in our 2024 annual report to be presented to the body for their approval at our next meeting. Say aye.
And the letter.
We will discuss that once we get the letter. Right now, it's a draft the letter. Yeah. One thing at a time. Yeah, one thing at a time. We don't have to.
A letter to be both sets for like a new letter, or do you want the letter from May?
We want the letter from May, and then whatever's in the report as a recommendation, just draft a letter with those. And then we'll compare and see. Right. That way,
You didn't close the vote.
yeah, sorry. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? All right. So the ayes have it. All right. Anything else from the cases and complaints review? So. Good. All right. No, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Data and analytics. Dr. Coleman.
Yes. So I think related to sort of the discussions that we've had, one of the things that we're talking about is trying to gather exactly what it is we need to collect, because there's a lot of it. And there's been discussions about the community surveys and actually collecting data, the responses and analyzing those. I know we've talked a lot about those surveys. And so right now we're developing an outline of all the data points that we need to collect. And a lot of the energy always gets used for our annual report. And so we're hopefully gonna take a more systematic approach and, have something to present soon. Sort of an outline of all the data points that we need to collect, those sources, and then move forward and start gathering that information.
Appointments and nominations.
Could I ask a question back with the data? Do we have? How many survey that you sent out?
So far, the communities, which one?
The community survey.
The one online?
I think so.
Yes, okay, the one online, so far I have, 45 that have completed it, and, which is, not as many as I was hoping for. So I really want, to get the word out more, so that more people can. It's a really short survey. We made it really short so that, people would want to. So if you guys can help, I know you all have been sending it out, and I thank you for that.
So I guess the recommendation would be then, if we're doing these 3 events, and that should be definitely a thing we should be.
But you might also see, we have some buses going out, this week that just started.
Oh.
Yeah.
We got signs on buses then?
Got signs on buses.
Oh, boy.
And billboards on the metro, digital billboards on the metro platforms. I'll send you guys a picture. So that's part of the grant. I'll send some pictures around now. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So we've
that's
got
great.
that going out.
So I guess just have to give Dr. Coleman so that she can start taking these responses. Yeah, but we should definitely make sure that we're telling people to go on the website and do the survey. All right, so that's data and analytics. Oh, appointments and nominations. Mr. Melton, I think you were by yourself on that one.
Oh, I thought I.
Oh, did you? Oh. Oh, that was your other one. I didn't hear you. You didn't have a mic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we have nothing, no
All right,
updates.
I think, so we did receive, I think one of our HP members resigned. So, yeah, so, yeah, so there's 2 that have never done everything to get fully cleared. And then we have 2 that have now resigned from our pool, so I think. Yeah, one was solid. So.
For the
it's-
hearing board, you said?
Yeah, so that's like 5 that we're really down now. So it's probably time to retool that.
So how many active? We got?
So we had, how many did we? We had 10 total, so now we're down to 5 active. And there are a lot of cases that are coming in, and so they're kind of pressing us, so. And I actually wanted to join that with you, so we can, so we'll get with Ebony, so she can connect us with everyone, and we can start the process, we can roll through and have something, so we can do interviews and all that soon. Yeah, oh, because we have to remove them, right? So we have, and those are the 2 original. Well, one was original, okay. Yeah, so if we have members in compliance, we also have to make it out of compliance, sorry. Which means that they have not submitted or fulfilled all of the requirements to be able to sit. How long do we let them sit there before we just remove them and move on to what's next?
9 days.
I think it's up to us to decide.
I think it's a conversation and we need to put all of the details on the table because we don't know what terms are for them. We don't know, like you said, what's that response turnaround. I think it's more detailed than to just that. So I think it.
Yeah, and I think it would require us to have a closed session because of naming names and talking about details of things. So I'll talk to the chair about that so we can get a closed session on the books for one of our next meetings. So that way we can start to establish some parameters. And then hopefully by then we can have a process already, recommendation for everyone on how we replace as well.
So question, so are we saying of the 5 active, there are some
No,
that are?
we had 10.
No, I know you had 10, but you're 5 down to 5 active, that's what I thought I
Yes,
heard.
yes.
So of the 5 active, there are some that are non-compliant?
No.
No,
No. That's in the 5 that are not. So we have 10 total.
right?
There are 2 that are non-compliant. We
And-
have, out of the 10, we have 1 that is on extended leave, so not available. And then we have 2 resignations. So those are the 5 that we're counting that are not currently active or being able to be chosen for the hearing.
2 non-compliant.
Those 2 are in the 5 that I'm discounting. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, for the, when we have a meeting in regards to, non-compliance in closed session, it's possible staff to have exactly what the process is for this, so we can see, we're talking about what's a reasonable amount of time, like what exactly they have to go through, what has to be clear done for the new compliance, so we can have that. That and what the term limits are established, so, I mean, be established. Yeah, term limits and whatever other rules.
All right, so that was a report out from the 4 subcommittees that we have currently. I wanted to open up the floor, I guess, for people who may want to join. Not gonna force anyone, but if there's something that tickled your fancy and be a part of the group. I'll let Mr. Jones go first, since you mentioned it first, and then we'll go to Ms. Maxwell.
Supervisor for the motion. Look at myself, there it is. Okay, then I would like to be on.
Just tell me what you want.
Yeah, complaint review, AHB appointments and community outreach.
Must be busy.
Yeah.
All right, so. Community outreach, appointments and nominations. And cases and complaints, right?
This is all of it's in data.
Wow.
Professionals.
Wow. Great.
Thank you.
Ms. Maxwell.
Yeah, case and complaint review, and then the administrative hearing board appointments.
Okay, that's just appointments and nominations, because we also appoint to the ACC. So anything that we have to appoint to, that. You're here with that.
Okay, then in that case, I would remove myself, case and complaints.
No one wants to go with Dr. Cole?
I was gonna say, you come to the data analytics committee.
Anyone else want to join anything else while we're here? Everyone's good. Yes, Mr.
And I
James.
propose a, no, we didn't have like a fixed list, but legislation and recommendations so that we are able to kind of follow up on those things and execute during the year.
So, yeah, I was gonna say, so that would also be coordinating with Ms. OG, to, as she's sending out the updates and all that as well.
That works.
Did we do a motion last time? Was that?
No, we just
did it, right?
We just.
All right.
Against wall.
I probably have to have the chair formally, set it up, but we'll make it a working thing for now. I do, I read through them.
Yeah.
Keep it coming.
I'd like to be on that.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. James, are you also volunteering to be a part of that?
Yeah, I volunteer for everything except data analytics.
Just so we're clear, I'm putting.
No.
Just so we're clear here. All right, so that was Mr. James, Mr. Jones. Who else?
Legislative, I'm.
O'Neill, all right.
Repeat back so I can make sure, I want to make sure that I'm,
Yeah,
listen for going.
I
If you don't
got you.
mind.
No problem. Anyone else? Like I said, I'll discuss that with the chair because he's the one that should be setting them up. All right, so I'll go through and review them. Data and analytics, it's just Dr. Coleman.
Well, technically, chair.
And the chair, that's right, I'm sorry. Appointments and nominations will be Mr. Melton, myself, Mr. Jones, and Ms. Maxwell.
I think myself.
Yes, okay. See, good thing you asked me to. All right. Community outreach was Ms. Bryant, Mr. O'Neill, Ms. Ridley, and Mr. Jones. He was joking about that part. He don't want that. He don't want that smoke. No. All right, cases and complaints review, Mr. Melton, Dr. Coleman, Ms. Springs, Mr. Jones, Ms. Maxwell. Cool. And then the proposed one, legislation and recommendations will be Mr. James, Mr. Jones, Dr. Coleman, and Mr. O'Neill. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Very good. All right, well, thank you everyone for that. We were gonna have a discussion on meeting frequency and schedule. I think we're gonna table that because, oops, I just skipped off. Policy and procedure. I know that Mr. Bennett, I believe you will be on our agenda for our next meeting to discuss rules and procedure for the board. So we're tabling that. That will be a discussion we'll have. We'll be able to ask some questions, get clarification on some sticky points. This is what I've been told. So we will do that. We'll have that discussion. And I think we will then also have a discussion on the meeting frequency and schedule for the subcommittees working. I think we'll be able to have less, you won't have to have as many meetings. Subcommittees can do work in between time, which I think was the goal the chair had for that.
Ask a clarifying question.
Yeah.
On the policy and procedure, are we talking about? I guess like, what are we talking about there? Because I know we have like that procedure document
Yeah,
in terms of like
that's-
our internal processes. So we're saying,
Yeah, he's gonna provide some
that.
clarification on some questions that came up around certain items on that. So we'll have a discussion.
I have a question regarding the meetings. Do we have a calendar or schedule of meetings?
Yes, it's, so currently we are on the every second Wednesday and fourth Wednesday of the month. Yeah, we have had conversations about cutting those down to one meeting a month and having some committees. So, yeah.
But I want to know when, if we can, because I know legislation got in Annapolis. And so,
First week of April.
yeah, we need to get an update where those bills.
Yeah, that's what she's been sending out.
So we can discuss it, you know. Just tell us.
Okay.
Ready.
Maybe the legislative committee can do that, right?
You said like on the agenda to like have it addressed. in the
Yes,
meeting.
that she can do a presentation. I think we had one.
A couple of meetings ago.
Huh?
I thought what I sent out every week is my presentation.
No, I understand that, but I mean,
Okay.
just, I can still be a discussion.
And it maybe doesn't have to be in your presentation, but just like time on the agenda. I think, for us to discuss it before,
Okay.
you know, what's going on.
I'm confused. So what was the legislation committee, the working group that we just talked about, what would they be discussing? I'm sorry, I'm making clarification.
Yeah.
I thought that's what they were doing, they would bring it back to us. I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Right, yeah, I think that was the hope that they would be the ones that would.
We just established a
Exactly.
legislative committee
Right.
today. I know before Crystal first got here, she went over what legislation was going to happen. They ain't had no. Sense of legislation.
Well, it's not on this agenda, that's what I'm saying. So I don't have control over this agenda, anymore. But she does send out the updates. And I think, as always, if there's something in that update that struck your fancy and we wanted to discuss, when we get to new business, which I think we're on right now, bring it up. So I'm happy to entertain that conversation now if anyone saw anything there that they wanted to discuss or ask questions about.
There, I would like to ask Crystal if there's something she wanted to especially talk about with regard to this.
I think that there are a couple of bills that have sort of piqued my interest. The thing is, I'm not you all, so, it's hard for me because I don't know what to sort of bring to the board and say, you know, look, you guys, this is interesting, do you want to talk about it? So that's why.
You send out.
Or, yeah.
Okay, but let me rephrase that. There was a bill about this.
Yeah.
And can you talk about, was that in our?
No, they had a hearing on it and it hasn't yet gotten out of committee. So what I have been doing is sort of keeping an eye out to see where the bills are moving. And right now it hasn't sort of moved. So just before we came into the meeting today, for example, I went in and looked.
Yeah.
And if something had moved, I would have sent you guys a message immediately. So that's what I'm always keeping an eye out for you guys. And if something moves that I think you all should, know immediately, then I would send that out to you and I'll continue to do that. But what I've kind of been hoping, and a couple of you have done this, so said, Crystal, I really need you to keep an eye on this for me, for example, because I'm interested. And so I've done that and I've sent messages to people. I'm like, okay, this is move, or this is move, or do you really want to speak about this, that kind of thing. So I've done that and I really wish more people would do that. If you're interested in specific, legislation, I'm open to that. But I really can't, tell, I can just give you all the information for you to give me feedback.
Man, that sounds like a great thing for the legislature. Mr. James.
I was absolutely in agreement, right? But we're at a point where, this thing is in the third quarter.
Right.
So for us to try to jump in the game now, it's gonna be difficult. I would also say it's prudent of us to have our ear to the ground and understand, because I will candidly say that there's at least one bill where we're used as the example. Our county is used as the example. And we are silent on it. Everyone is using us as the need for this bill and that it's applicable. But we haven't discussed it, we haven't weighed in. Hopefully, as these things happen in the upcoming sessions, we'll have formalized a committee, we'll have a way for us to weigh in, discuss it as a body, and if there are input is needed, because like I said, when you're used as the poster child for something, I think you ought to stand up and have a voice in that process as well.
From my understanding, what the bill is calling for is for the board to have an investigator. And
So I didn't say a bill number. I didn't reference any bill. Just so everybody knows, I didn't reference a single bill.
all right,
There are multiple bills. And that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
There are instances where we're used as the example.
Yes.
And I think that it would be prudent that we are aware of that and understand what the implications are as it relates specifically to us.
And we have to work early, because the session starts in January, so bills are pre-filed.
Yeah.
We have to be reactionary to that, like, I think crossover's happening this week or next week, I think, right? So, I mean, by that point, whatever moves over, and whatever doesn't is dead, so, so we just have to stay on top of that.
I try to ring the bell as loud
Yeah.
as I can, like
Yeah.
saying, hello,
Yeah.
testimony's happening this week, but, I
Yeah.
can, and sometimes it happens on, the week that you guys aren't meeting, but, I.
Yeah, no, and I think the updates you've been sending have been very useful and helpful. And once we get the subcommittee up and rolling, then we'll have a few that can be much more responsive. Pretty cool. All right. Saying that we are in new business, anyone else with anything that they want to share for the bid of the order?
I got a request, if possible, if we can kind of know where we are milestone wise on the strategic plan. We spent a lot of time on that thing. So I think it'd be good to know kind of where we are and how we're tracking against those goals. Certainly requests on data on complaints and coming in, but I think we'll have a subcommittee to address that. So looking good there, as well as that's it. I'm leaving that. That's enough. There's enough on the to-do list. Right?
So an update on the strategic plan. Well, we'll have to split some of these things up. We don't want to keep the staff here all night if they've been here all day. All right, anyone else? Anything, new business, anything? Announcements? I already introduced our new board member here. Glad to have you. Yeah. Hopefully you'll get a sense for everyone. Yeah, slowly but surely. Give us some time to really come out of our shells. All right, okay, hearing nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second from Dr. Coleman. All in favor, say aye. Ms. Ridley, did you want to say anything before you go?
Get it off mute.
You're still on mute. You're still on mute.
You.
There you go.
Okay. Just good evening to everybody.
Hey, we can't wait to have you back here, so. We need to have you back.
I'll be at the next meeting. I'm just out of town. I'm pulling over to the side, getting on this meeting here.
Well, thank you for taking the time to join us on your trip, and we'll looking forward to see you at the next meeting.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
All right, did I take the vote? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yeah. All right. Is anyone opposed that want to stick around longer? Okay. All right. Meeting is adjourned at 7:51. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.